Hello, everyone. My name is Ina, and I am a healer, a breathwork meditation guide. I work with energy, with craniosacral therapy, and other forms of body work for over 10 years now. And I am guided at this time to start sharing healing messages and practices that are easily accessible to help whoever wants to listen and to try them attain greater inner peace and transformation that is embodied, that is rooted in love and in ways of connecting with our own inherent capacity for healing. The first message and practice that I would like to share is about breath work. This will be a three-part series, today being the introductory part one. I'd like to share with you first the breathwork style that I present and facilitate and how I came to this particular style of breathwork, because there are a lot of breathwork styles out there. I was drawn to a Taoist meditation practice, at the center of which is breathwork, years ago. For a while, I followed this practice, and this practice was on a belt system, like some of the martial arts, and so was very, very specific in how one practices and how one progresses as we go through the levels. Over time, that approach stopped working for me and stopped working for my body. It became overly rigid, and I realized that my practice had to evolve. My own knowledge of the body, of healing, of our own inherent capacity to heal, um, the experience with my clients that I've been having in healing work, primarily at the time through craniosacral therapy and energy work, all of that was guiding me to transform the practice, to eliminate some things, add some things, and basically make it far more accessible than what this particular ancient Qigong Taoist practice was, which I'm very grateful to it, and it has given me so much and still constitutes the foundation to the breath work that I practice myself and teach and facilitate. And what's most important to know about it at the beginning compared to other breathwork styles is that it's a breathwork meditation. So it's a wonderful way to learn to meditate, especially for people that perhaps have been struggling to learn to meditate. That used to be me before I found this practice. Um, I didn't know it at the time, but what I was really looking for is an embodied meditation, which is exactly what this is. This style of meditation doesn't invite one to simply still the mind or go on some kind of a more mind-based focus or journey, but it's all about settling the actual energy of the body and finding inner peace within the center of our own being. So that's a little bit about the breathwork style. Now, why does the average modern human have restricted breath? There are so many reasons, but I'd like to just briefly go over perhaps a few main ones or common ones. First of all, it's emotional restriction, right? Any emotions that have been deemed inappropriate, impossible to express, too overwhelming, not allowed perhaps in our early upbringing, whether explicitly or not explicitly, um, they become blocked. And what does that mean? That means that energy of that emotion has not been able to flow through the body and has not been able to alchemize, because that's what emotions want to do. They want to emote and be in movement, and then they change and they're no longer stuck. But for so many of us, we did not grow up in, let's say, a ultimately healthy emotional environment. And of course, that is also a cultural phenomenon, perhaps a global phenomenon, although there's certainly cultural differences. So that becomes stuck energy in the body. And because the breath really opens up the central channel when it's flowing correctly and openly, the breath is a primary force of accessing our emotions, all of them. So that is one reason why the breath becomes restricted. Of course, that's a big reason, because there are so many different then types of blockages in areas of our body where certain emotions tend to be held and blocked, where the breath stops flowing into. Because if it did keep flowing into those areas, we would feel those emotions. In fact, that is what slowly and gently will happen in this integrative healing breathwork practice that I am offering to you. Um, but in terms of how we have become habituated and conditioned, and that which has become unconscious, um, most of us have some areas in our body that, without awareness of it, we are not breathing into, because they're holding, in essence, our shadow, or our repressed material. Okay. So that's basically an overarching foundation for restricted breath, but there's a few offshoots of that, and an important consideration is that our initial breathing pattern and our whole nervous system, in fact, gets modeled after our mother's nervous system and breathing pattern. That is simply the design of the human being. A little newborn baby is not able to regulate their own nervous system, and literally mimics the nervous system of their most immediate caregiver, usually the mother, though not always, the person who they spend the most time with and the most contact with. And even if it's not the mother, the mimicking of the mother's baby from the time in utero already has begun, and the wiring of the newborn's nervous system. So I'm sure that I don't have to convince you or explain at length why so many mothers in the modern world have compromised nervous systems. There's so much that goes into that, and that is a whole other area of expertise of mine through the birth support work that I do. But basically, if you think about even just simply being under resourced, stressed out, perhaps not enough financial resources, perhaps relationship resources are not what we wish them to be, and so many other stressors, healing that was never really able to happen for the mother before she had her babies. So a lot held inside of her, and then she has her baby as well. So the infant picks up on all of that and simply begins to, their system, like I said, begins to mimic the breathing and the nervous system of their mother or the other closest caregivers. Those are some of the main reasons, and then I will just add that the actual event of birth, because that is such a crucial moment in our journey and the ignition of our whole life, right, also has a great impact on our breath. And how did that first breath happen once we were born? And unfortunately, for many of us in the kind of more modern environment, those born in hospitals, and especially with any traumatic or particularly stressful birth circumstances. That time, it was very stressful, was but perhaps even very scary. And so the association with breath itself, which is our very taking in of life force, of life energy, sometimes on an unconscious level, that association is negative, is that of fear and contraction because of what the baby's first breath actually felt like. Perhaps it was forced uh, and happening like rather fast, and with the cord being cut off prematurely, bright lights, lots of perhaps loud voices, and stress in the room. All of that is registered by the tender infant that is just entering life outside the womb. So, all of that to say, there is lots of reason for any one of us to practice healing breath work. And the good news, though, is that all of that can be healed and can shift dramatically through this practice. That has been my personal experience. It's been deeply transformational for my own healing, as well as I've been seeing it with my clients that I've been applying this breathwork method with. And so I offer it to you now. And it's quite simple, as I think some of the best things in life are. It's not complicated, but it does require dedication and regular practice. So today we're going to begin with just phase one of the practice, which is the focal point of it is breath awareness. Because in order to work with something, you have to first become aware of it, right? So I will guide you shortly in our first breathwork meditation, where we're going to connect with our breath, start quieting the mind, and learn to drop our awareness into our body, onto the breath, and to start witnessing our own breath pattern. Then we will also start to gently lengthen it. And that is pretty much the first step, and it is good to practice that at least for a few days, or it can even be weeks, or whatever is right for each of you. And I would say that there's no too much time of practicing this style because it's very gentle. It's essentially a meditation. And that is why I, as a craniosacral therapist and energy healer, why I fell in love with it so much, because it will never present to you anything that you're not ready to deal with or to integrate from your unconscious or from your blockages, so to speak. It's a gentle and slow practice that at the same time regulates your nervous system, teaches you how to gain a state of calm in your center. And in that state, slowly, blockages will be removed and released, and emotions integrated. And so the charge of the past will be gone, and you will, over time, gain a much more open, full, free breath with access to your intuition, your gut, right? I call it inner wisdom. That is a really major concept in craniosacral therapy for sure. And while our breath is not flowing downward through our torso into our belly like it's supposed to, it can be really difficult to access that intuition, because that's not a mental concept. It's in fact distinctly not in the mind, the intuition, right? In fact, the mind will often come in and question initially intuitive information because it will feel threatened by it. Our mind is like this little monkey mind, and it likes to know exactly why anything is happening, where anything came from. It only can handle logical things, But there's so much more to reality and to the essence of the human being. There is direct knowing that can sometimes not be explained by logic, and it happens because our channel is actually so open, and our breath has to be open and full so we can access our own inner wisdom, which, in my opinion, of course, is connected to universal wisdom, to your higher self, and beyond that depends on what you believe in. So before we dive in to our first meditation, I'd like to name some additional specific benefits that you can experience in the short term and in the long term by engaging in this breathwork meditation practice. So in the short term, pretty much with every time you practice, I will say, you're likely to experience quieting of the mind, greater sense of inner peace, greater sense of relaxation, reduction in tension and in anxiety, and a better and deeper connection to your true self. Of course, there's many gradients to that, but I'm just saying better than where you began, even 10 minutes before the practice. In the long run, and I'm speaking to that, of course, from my personal embodied experience, as well as that of many of my clients. In the long run, you can actually rewire and shift your nervous system to a completely new level of embodied calmness and inner peace. That may not mean you're always in a state of inner peace, especially with everything that is going on in the world, but that you experience infinitely more inner peace than you did before. And when you do get perhaps, shaken up by one or another stressor, you are quickly to come back to inner peace because that is now your normal state of being. Now, I know that is one of the most desired and coveted states, right? Because you can't buy that with money. You can't buy inner peace. You can only attain it through practice, and this is it, or at least it has been for me. Additional long-term benefits will be improvement in sleep, great reduction in anxiety, elimination of, I would say, rigid or tense or like cyclical, unhelpful thinking, because that also is a manifestation of too much energy in the head, not enough flowing breath and energy down into the torso. You're likely over the long term to really feel ongoing helpful connection to your inner wisdom and intuition, like I have been talking about, which allows you to live your life from a completely different place that is rooted, grounded, and feels like a place of guided wisdom. That you don't have to question yourself anymore and your choices. You literally can become a greater beacon of light and peace, and through that, helping not only yourself, but all those around you by embodying that state of peace. Also, like happened for me, it is likely to resolve long-standing patterns of pain in the body. Pain, stagnation, menstrual cramps are a big one, headaches, really almost any kind of pain. And we will work with that more specifically as we go along in future sections of this series, where I will guide you with the breath to tap specifically into the pain patterns to help shift them. So that is just some of the benefits, but I think you get the gist of it. And most importantly, it will be great for you to discover it on your own and to let the practice show you how it can benefit you. So we're now going to get to the last part of this video, which is the actual first breathwork meditation. So I invite you to perhaps pause the video if you need to and Get in a really comfortable position. I recommend laying down if that is accessible to you. You can support yourself, a small pillow under the head, maybe a bolster under the knees if you feel you need that. But actually, for optimal energy flow, if you're comfortable with that, and if it doesn't cause any pain at all, you can lay flat on, say, a sofa or on a yoga mat, perhaps a pillow on your eyes, or just darken the light in the room if you can. Make sure your environment is quiet. And we're going to get started. So, laying down wherever you are, close your eyes. Bring your awareness to your breath now. It may feel like you're shifting the light of your awareness from the mind in the head down into the body on the breath that is flowing in the torso. And what we are inviting here is a literal following of the breath, the way that it's flowing in your body. Nothing more than that for this moment. So see if you can follow the breath along through the inhale and then through the exhale. See if you can notice gently and lovingly and without any judgment how far in your body the breath is reaching on the inhale and how it feels as it's releasing with the exhale. Simply witnessing and noticing. And in those moments when you notice that the awareness has gone to the mind, to thoughts, without any judgment, simply redirect the awareness back to the breath. Gently letting the mind know that it can rest right now, while you use your awareness in a different way. And just bring it right back onto the breath over and over again. So continuing to notice your breath and the way that it's flowing in your body, in breath, followed by out breath. Notice the point where the in-breath is reaching. Is it somewhere in your chest? Maybe it's higher in the upper chest or lower neck and shoulders. Or is it reaching towards your diaphragm or areas of your abdomen? Just noticing how far is it reaching and how your body is responding. Is there expansion and movement in the torso? And if so, where? Simply bringing gentle, loving awareness, noticing. And over the next few breaths, please notice how many counts does your in-breath occupy. It would be your own organic way of counting. Note that number for a few consecutive breaths. How many counts does the in-breath occupy? And once you have your number, on the next few in-breaths, we're going to try to lengthen and deepen the breath simply just by 1 or 2 counts. Listen to what feels right for your body at this moment, never pushing or forcing anything. So as you breathe in, if you were at a 4, see if you can lengthen your breath to a 5, etc., with other numbers, as well as inviting the breath to go a little bit beyond that point where it was originally reaching in your torso. So inviting your breath to flow a little deeper in your body and flowing a little slower. The exhale may naturally lengthen as well, but don't try to control the exhale at all. Simply let it flow out how it will. Continue breathing like this, maintaining your slightly deeper and slightly longer breath. Redirecting your awareness from thoughts and mental activity every time that that's needed, gently and lovingly back onto the breath. As you are breathing in this way while staying in deep connection with your body and breath, you're likely also noticing other sensations in your body in a more highlighted way. That's part of the value of a breathwork meditation, is an increased connection with our body and its wisdom. So as you continue to maintain this deeper, longer breath, now also allow for your awareness to notice other sensations in your body. Some sensations may be pleasant, such as relaxation or tingling, softening of tension. Other sensations may not be as pleasant, as you may be becoming more aware of tension or pain that you're carrying in your body. See if you can simply notice and witness with an equal acceptance and calmness all of those sensations and experiences that your body is going through, while maintaining the central awareness right on the breath in the center of your being. maintaining that slightly longer and deeper breath compared to where you began. And now, sending gratitude to your own being before we conclude the practice, as you take a couple more of these deeper, slower breaths, simply send gratitude to your own self and to your own body, noting how it feels now in your body and in your mind compared to before you did this brief meditation. And bringing your awareness now to the surface you're laying on or sitting on, the room that you are in. And when you're ready, opening your eyes and coming back. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your first healing breathwork meditation practice and that you keep practicing in this way. Thank you for joining me, and I will be back soon with another video to continue our breathwork, healing breathwork journey. All the best.